Why was William Butler Yeats searching for peace in Innisfree? Is Innisfree just an island for the poet or something else? In the poem The Lake Isle of Innisfree, the poet is trying to escape from what? Welcome to my classroom, and today we will be discussing the poem The Lake Isle of Innisfree, written by William Butler Yeats. Before we start with the poem, I recommend, as a reader, we should always go through the historical context, the time frame or the decade in which a particular poem was written or is written. We get an insight about the mood and the setting of the poem, and also we get a lot of information about the poet. The turn of the 20th century brought second industrial revolution. New technologies and rapid urbanization of the cities, especially London, led to the emergence of an industrious working class, who sadly did not have the best living conditions. The cities were overpopulated and were equal to an urban dump. The growing resentment towards the city life was reflected in the works of many writers of that time. In their writings, simple country life came to be idolized, serenading nature. Their work provided them with a mental escape from the grueling city life. Let's just quickly go through the life of William Butler Yeats. He was an Irish poet, playwright, and senator for the Free Irish State. Yeats is regarded as one of the major poets of the 20th century, known as a symbolist poet. He used suggestive imagery and symbolic structures in his literary works. Yeats was awarded Nobel Prize in 1923. The Lake Isle of Innisfree was written in 1890 and is included in the collection The Rose, 1893. The poem is a lyric and has 3 short quatrains. The Lake Isle of Innisfree talks about an island, Innisfree. The poem explores the poet's or speaker's longing for peace and tranquility that he felt in his childhood haunt. Let's begin with the recitation. I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There, midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of linnets' wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day, I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway, or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep heart's core. I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee loud glade. The poem begins with the refrain or repetition, I will arise and go now. The speaker begins the poem by expressing a desire to travel to Innisfree, a small uninhabited island where Yeats spent his childhood. The formal beginning of the poem may allude to King James Bible, where the lines I will arise and go appears numerous times. The biblical association reinforces the idea that Innisfree is a sacred place for the speaker, a place of serenity and simplicity. Lines 2 to 4 have rich descriptions of the things Yeats wants to do in Innisfree. The language is specific. The speaker is telling you exactly what he wants. He doesn't just say he wishes for a house or a garden. The speaker is presenting concrete imagery of a building, a cabin with clay and wattles, not just a garden, but 9 bean rows. He is also expressing a wish to live alone in Innisfree. Why is that? Why the need for solitude? At the time this poem was written, Yeats was living in the thriving, crowded, busy metropolitan of London. The speaker is dissatisfied with the chaotic industrial life, the constant hustle and bustle of the city where you get few moments of peace here and there. In Innisfree, he is building, sowing, nurturing, constructing and clearing a glade, doing laborious activities that take time and are often pursued when one has ample time or peace of mind. The speaker is wishing to have all that in Innisfree. The island Innisfree here has become symbolic. It represents peace, solitude, timelessness, and the calming touch of nature, a world away from the modern world. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings. There, midnight's all a glimmer and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. The second quatrain is moving from concrete visual descriptions to metaphorical. The speaker believes that he'll eventually find peace in Innisfree. One does not find peace immediately. That process is slow. It comes to you eventually. The speaker moves through each stage of the day, describing what he'll unravel at Innisfree. In the morning, the mist is like veils thrown over the lake. At noon, the hue of the purple heather, a kind of a flower, blazes under the sun. The evening is filled with the flapping of the linnet's wings, and at night, the glimmer of the stars fills the sky. Remember, I said earlier that in the poem it is implied that peace comes gradually, and as the speaker is progressing from morning to night, he is getting closer to finding peace via nature and its hidden bounties. The beautiful, vivid imagery in the second stanza is transporting the reader to Innisfree, a place that is symbolizing a haven of spiritual peace and calmness. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep heart's core. Repetition of opening lines in the ending stanza reinforces his ardent wish to go back to Innisfree, at least once in his lifetime. The speaker is reminded of Innisfree when he imagines hearing the sound of lake water lapping by the shores. This makes the speaker think of Innisfree night and day. In this stanza, we are returning from the imaginary to the real world. In the previous stanza, the speaker described Innisfree as if he was already there, but in this stanza, we know his true location. It is a city street, probably in London. The speaker is standing on the grave pavements or roadways when he is thinking of Innisfree. The harsh, dull juxtaposition in the third stanza is deliberate. From the peace and tranquility in the second stanza, we are harshly transported to the real world. The dull grey pavements are a harsh contrast to the purple glow and the midnight's glimmer in the previous stanza. This shows that the speaker hasn't attained his goal, that is, attainment of peace of mind, exclusion from the chaotic mechanized world, to live and have a simplistic idealistic life far away from the city. He concludes with an intense, impassioned line that he yearns for Innisfree from the core of his heart. Let's come to the analysis of the poem. The rhyme scheme used over here is A-B, C-D, E-F, E-F. It is a lyric. Now what is a lyric? It is a short poem, has a highly musical verse that conveys powerful feelings. It uses a single speaker who expresses personal emotions or thoughts. Lyrical poems, which are often popular for their musical quality and rhythm, are pleasing to the ear and are easily put to music. Now let's have some information about the speaker. We don't get much information about the speaker, but in the third stanza we make sense that the speaker is from an urban setting. In the first and the second stanza, we are included in his dream or imagination as a reader. And it also introduces us to his idealized side, which is often regarded or represented as perfect or better than reality or the real world. He pines for an ideal place with an ideal day in an idealized setting. Now, what could be the themes used in this poem? First, it could be journeying back to nature or getting in touch with nature. Remember, the speaker was a little disgruntled with the city life. At the end of the poem, he showed a determined intention to undertake the journey that will bring him closer to nature, to an idealized setting or a place, that is, Innisfree. The speaker also showed discontentment with his present location. He did let us know that by reserving the color grey for roadways and pavements, which are in stark contrast with the picturesque, luscious imagery of the second stanza. Innisfree in his mind has become an escape from the reality of his current world. The second theme could be attainment of peace through an idealized, simple living. The speaker yearns for peace and calmness of the Innisfree. He doesn't just wander around idly around the island. He is not an escapist, he is constructive. It is through meditative labor that he gradually starts to feel peace surrounding him. Nature is playing a vital part in this poem. Although Innisfree is an uninhabited island, the speaker is not alone. He is amidst bees, linnets, stars, etc. By the end of the poem, the reader feels that the poet's day wasn't in vain, that his goals were fulfilled. He worked and his labor was rewarded not with currency but with peace of mind. Symbolism. First, Innisfree represents an idealized image of nature symbolizing peace, clarity, and purity. Second, roadways and grey pavements depicts disillusionment with the urban setting. Speaker is not content with the marvels of urbanization and is willing to pilgrim back to an elevated setting physically and metaphorically. Third, 9 bean rows, cabin and beehive, etc. It depicts towards a self-sufficient lifestyle, sustainable living in harmony with nature. In the end, The Lake Isle of Innisfree is an exceptional poem with its lyrical elements. The poem's consistent rhyming pattern and alliteration in between not only lets the reader feel the pleasant and soothing environment of Innisfree, but also hear the natural elements present in the poem. This concludes today's session. I hope you liked listening to it as much as I liked explaining The Lake Isle of Innisfree. Do give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share. Until next time, bye-bye.